Am I the asshole for assuming the first time hanging out with a girl was a date? Last Wednesday 9/22 I asked a coworker if she wanted to go to our local amusement park. They had decorated the park for the Halloween season and I thought it might be a good idea to ask her if she wanted to go. We usually talk for a while when I'm getting off and she's just getting in, so I thought she might like me. When I first asked, I specifically asked, "Are you doing anything next Saturday and want to go out to the amusement parking and get dinner?" She instantly lit up and said yes, that she had nothing going on and that sounded like fun, and she would be down to go. I said cool, I'll hit you up later in the week about it. I text her that same Friday 9/24 about our plans. No response, was left undelivered. But she can still post on her Snapchat the whole weekend, first red flag location flag. Then Monday rolls around, and she sees me at work and didn't even try to talk about our plans. So I hit up a mutual coworker and asked her if she was mad at me. All she said was no, she just gets busy, which is understandable, but our job, we are constantly on our phones. No reason she can't get back to me super fast, I'm able to. So Monday after work she finally hits me back up apologizing for the lack of response. Still says she's down to go. I said cool, me too. Thursday rolls around and she texts me what she should bring and what time we should meet on Saturday. I told her to meet me at 4 p.m. and bring a jacket and maybe some snacks if she wanted, and we would get food after. She said that was okay. Saturday morning when I'm at work she texts me this big paragraph that basically says she doesn't want to go if her 3 sisters can't go. Her parents were forcing her to take them even though she's 24 years old, but we could go off and do our own thing once we got inside. I asked her if she could go with them another time. I wanted it to be just us, and she said if they can't go she won't go. So I said that was okay. Her mom had already bought their tickets a while ago and this was the perfect time to use them, face with rolling eyes. I get there at 4 p.m. like we had talked about 3 times at this point, and text her saying I was there, and asked if they were close. A few minutes later I get a text saying they were running late and would be there around 4:40. I said cool, I'll just go get a beer and hang out and wait. 4:40 rolls around, so I make my way back to the front gate and wait. Nothing till about 5 saying they just left. Hour late at this point. So I continue to wait. We live in the same area and it's only 20 minutes away. 6 p.m. rolls around and I'm getting irritated. She finally calls me and says that they were there and asked if I could come out and give her her ticket. I told her that she said her mom had bought their tickets, so I had just bought mine. She gets irritated and goes and buys her own ticket. I'm inside waiting for her and I see one of her sisters that also works with us. They come over and immediately start ignoring me. Didn't get introduced to the other 2 that I've never met before. Second red flag location flag. At this point we're still waiting for the girl I actually tried to go with. She finally gets through the gates, over 2 hours late, and comes over towards us, walks directly past me without saying anything or even looking at me. Third red flag location flag, and I want to go home and we haven't even been on any rides yet. While we were in line for the rides, no one spoke to me. I had some exciting news and when I told them they didn't even care. I felt like a fifth wheel all night and it was my ideas in the first place. After about 3 rides the 4 girls wanted to get food. So we were walking to the food court and I asked her if she wanted to split from her sisters after we got some food and do our own thing, like she said in her text we would. She said no. Her mom told her not to leave her sisters, who were between 17–20 and had their own cell phones. So I told her how I felt. I said I thought this was gonna be more of a date. That's why I invited you to an amusement park. Usually when a guy wants to do something big like that, it's usually a date. I said it was my idea to come today and I've been treated like a fifth wheel all night. She then proceeds to say that it's just how her family is. Her dad said if she left without them to not come back, and if she would have known it was a date she would have said no. She's not interested dating right now because of an ex she had over 2 years ago. Like I understand guys suck, but I've been through some shit in the last year I'm trying to get past. My ex was pregnant with twins and they were stillborn. I wasn't interested in dating for a long time, but I hate being lonely, so this was me trying to get back out there. Ended up leaving at 8 p.m. because I wasn't gonna keep getting treated like a fifth wheel. Am I the asshole? Too long did not read. Asked a coworker on a date to an amusement park. She brought her 3 sister. I got treated like a fifth wheel and told her how I felt and left early. Edit. Formatting. She sucks for being super late and bringing family along uninvited to an event organized by someone else. You stuck for not being clear in your intentions. If you want a date, ask her on a date. Asking to hang out is wishy-washy and can be interpreted very broadly. You are the asshole. She had red flags, but you are a red flag. Clearly she had a lot going on but still tried to make it work to hang out with you. She warned you her sisters would be there. And this was only a date in your head. An actual friend would have understood that sometimes family comes up and makes things weird or challenging for a day. But you are not her friend. Just a confusing failed romantic pursuer. Not the asshole, but very poor communication all around. She's the asshole for being so late and ignoring you, but not for it not being a date. 1. You should have been a little more clear that you wanted it to be a date and not just hanging out. Sometimes people just want to be friends, friendly too. She shouldn't have ignored you the whole time, or she should have tried to reschedule. 3. She isn't obligated to go on a date with you. You seem mad she isn't ready, willing to date you, and that's a big red flag. 4. IDK what's wrong with her parents, but it's clear they have a lot more going on with her that you aren't aware of. Your timeline makes no sense. Sounds like you went on October 2, but 2 weeks of talking about it started September 29. You are the asshole just for that and the wall of text. And for trying too hard to be chill when this girl gave you plenty of signals she did not want to date. She should have been honest with you, but at the same time you were counting the red flags each day, fully aware she wasn't treating you in a way that made you feel wanted. Be more upfront about whether it's a date next time, save yourself the hassle. What a mess. I'm gonna go with everyone sucks here because 1. Even if you didn't directly ask, it's a date then. When you agreed on plans, I absolutely agree that it's difficult to construe that it's anything but a date. She knew or should have known. 2. When you realized it wasn't going to work out that way or that she wasn't interested, you kept pushing the point. From reading your post, there are plenty of instances where I'd have said, that's crazy. Don't worry about it though. Her for being late. You for not being clear that it was a date. Women and men can hand out platonically, so if you meant otherwise, be specific. Her saying yes to hanging out isn't saying yes to a date. Am I the asshole for telling my brother to stop mooching off me and later kicking him out of my house? I'm 32 and I have a brother named Jason, 34. Jason got divorced 2 years ago with this woman he was really head over heels with. They met in their late 20s and Jason would always tell me he was having the best time of his life with this girl. That all changed one day when I got a call from Jason sobbing, explaining how he and his wife just got a divorce. I could barely understand him as he was so incoherent, but I felt extreme sympathy for Jason. He then told me how he has no place to stay since his wife kicked him out of the apartment and asked if he could just stay at my house for a bit, which I accepted. I mean, why wouldn't I? He's my brother, I love him. Jason moved in and chose to stay in the spare guest bedroom I have and was expressing how grateful he was for me being there with him. Fast forward to 2 years in the present, Jason has changed as a person. He's a slob, never cleans up after himself and consistently makes messes in the guest bedroom. Stains on the sheets and bags of junk on the floor, just an overall pigsty. Whenever I would confront Jason about him making messes, he would explain how he's so depressed that I shouldn't dare to criticize him and how I should be there for him. I told him he should at least help around the house, like clean the dishes, since he is living in a big comfy room of mine rent-free, but he just dodges my demands and plays the victim card. However, one night was the breaking point of all of this. I was coming back home from work and it was a really late night, probably around 10 or 9, and I got home, opened the front door, and I was greeted to Jason and 2 dirty guys sitting on my couch with flies all over the place, Uber Eats McDonald's bags on the counters and the floors, junk all over the place, beer bottles. It was disgusting. At this point I had enough and told Jason that he is extremely slobby and needs to take responsibility for this house as much as I do. Jason started yelling at me, slurring his words, and told me how I'm not a true brother for not being there for him. Jason's friends also started to try and rile me up by flipping me off, but I wasn't having any of it. I told Jason that he's not welcomed in this house and that he's not grateful for the amount of shit I do for him, to which he then used his depression as an excuse again. I then threatened that I would call the cops if he didn't leave. He told me I was bluffing, but when I dialed the first 2 numbers of 911, he and his goons left while telling me to go fuck myself, of course. It's been a few days since then and Jason has called me through my dad, explaining how he was just very drunk and wants to give being roommates another shot, which I obviously told him no. However, there is a little part of me that feels guilty. Jason is my brother, we are family, and I feel like to kick him out of the house while he's at his lowest point, even if he was a bit piggish, was a bit disrespectful on my part. Edit. I have now changed my locks due to Jason attempting to come into the house with his spare key. Jason is now staying at his friend's house and I couldn't be more relieved to have him off my back. Not the asshole, why doesn't he stay with your dad? Maybe he listens to him. It's been 2 years. Okay, so there's no time limit on depression and mental health, but after 2 years, he can at least take a bath, clean his house, and get a damn job. Maybe if he actively contributed to his own well-being, he wouldn't be so damn depressed. It's hard to feel good about yourself when you surround yourself with toxic environment, dirty pigsty, stains, bags of junk, flies. Not the asshole. You were incredibly generous and let him live with you for 2 years rent-free. You had really reasonable expectations. You might have handled the final confrontation without police, but honestly, it sounds like you just hit a tipping point being taken advantage of by someone you love. Not the asshole. Personal boundaries are important. Not the asshole. Talk to your parents. Let them know you think your brother is probably still going through some issues from the divorce with the big swing in personality, actions, drinking. He most likely needs to get some help, and him having to deal with where to live or moving in with them might be an eye-opener for him that he can't continue as he is. You won't be doing him any favors by not holding him accountable. Unless you are good with you two living together indefinitely and not moving forward. NTA. And now you have a pretty good idea of why his ex-wife left. Your brother will only change when he wants to. Maybe this will be the catalyst for his change, though I have my doubts. Stand your ground. Let your father take him. Not the asshole. Not only has Jason overstayed his welcome, he's taken you for granted in how he conducts himself. This wasn't meant to be a permanent solution when he moved in. 2 years? It's time for him to pick himself up again. You have been more than helpful providing him a free place to stay and in return asked him to clean up after himself. He didn't do his part and actions have consequences. I can see why you think kicking him out might have been a bit harsh, but maybe that's the wake-up call he needed. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for limiting my mother's unsupervised time with my daughter? My wife, 34 female, and I, 33 male, went through this recently and there seemed to be some residual hurt feelings despite all efforts, so I figured I'd let Reddit chip in. My father-in-law passed away recently after a short but grueling battle with cancer. My wife had gone out to take care of him in his last days. We lived 3 hours away from our respective immediate families, and dropped our 5-female daughter with my mother, who does not currently work or have any other obligations. My mother then offered to take our daughter to visit my extended family another 3 hours away. That was fine with us, so off they went. For context, I work night shift and while I mostly work from home, the equipment and nature of the work isn't appropriate for me to bring elsewhere. My wife asked me to come out a couple nights later, as she had a hunch her dad wasn't going to make it much longer. I called out of work and headed out immediately. I called my mom on the way to ask her to come back with my daughter ASAP, which she was fine with. My Phil died that night, shortly after I arrived. I did what I could to help out and in the morning, met my mother at her house to pick up my daughter. My daughter said that she hadn't changed her underwear in 3 days, and my mom laughed it off like, oh yep, couldn't find them in her suitcase. Though I had packed 5-6 pairs. I always pack suitcases like there's going to be explosive diarrhea the whole time, lol. I was angry but obviously had bigger fish to fry and went back to my MILs. The next weekend, we had the funeral service, so we were back in town. I went to my parents one day solo to hang out and ask my mom about the underwear incident. She took my daughter shopping but didn't buy new undies, and didn't call or text me or my wife to ask. I was angry but calmly said that this was unacceptable and she wouldn't have unsupervised time with my daughter for some time. I was clear that this was not no contact or severance, but my mother cursed me out and then tried to drag my dad into it. He said literally nothing the entire time. She didn't talk to me after that and then I left. The next day I went back with my wife and daughter to my parents' house, and my mom sent them outside while she gave me what for saying I was being emotional, and overreacting, and hurting her. I explained it from my wife and I's point of view, and mentioned a couple other hygiene-related incidents that had come up previously. We couldn't find much of a common ground. I apologized for not raising a stink earlier about these issues and she eventually apologized for not handling the undies incident appropriately. She's still pretty angry with me though. Am I the asshole? ETA. My daughter's normal hygiene routine is to change her clothes, underwear included, daily, and shower every other day unless she gets notably dirty, muddy, sweaty, etc. For clarity's sake, she showered on a Wednesday night, Thursday went with my wife to my mother's, then went to visit the extended family on Friday and Saturday before returning on Sunday morning. So at that point it had been 3.5 days since she showered and 3 days since she'd put on clean underwear. NTA, that's classed as child neglect. She could have literally bought her pants. Could have given her an infection or rash downstairs from that. Not the asshole, but I agree with the other commenters who are suggesting this might mark the beginning of some cognitive decline in your mother. She couldn't find several pairs of underwear in a suitcase. Upon not finding any underwear, she didn't go out and purchase some more. Upon not finding any underwear and having not purchasing any, she didn't wash the pair your daughter was wearing every night, and getting belligerent about it. Is this fairly standard behavior for her? Did she make you change your underwear daily when you were a kid? Obviously we're not doctors, and couldn't diagnose her if we were, but you might want to talk to your dad if he's noticed any signs also. Not the asshole, you can't just leave a child in the same underwear for days on end. My thought would be, does that mean she wasn't washed for that duration as well? Info. Does your mom have any cognitive issues? If an adult told me they can't find underwear from a half-dozen pairs to select from in a suitcase, if they truly tried, I would be very concerned. Not the asshole, your daughter the most important person in your life. So if you can't trust someone, no matter who they are, you can't let them have unsupervised time with your daughter. Mom might be suffering from dementia or some sort of other issue. Seriously, talk to your dad about this and get her tested. Only the most narcissistic of people leave a baby, small child in dirty undies for 3 days. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Bet your mother changed her own underwear during those 3 days and yet she couldn't do it for her granddaughter? It can cause proper health problems if you don't wear clean underwear, so you're well within your right to be concerned. Not the asshole, she is acting like the victim for something that is completely her fault. You're hurting her because she can't properly care for her granddaughter? That's not okay. I'm not sure you should allow any alone time with your daughter if she will be deliberately oblivious. Am I the asshole for intervening to prevent my son marrying his high school girlfriend? I feel a little uncomfortable writing about this to strangers, but she's so upset and I truly feel I have done nothing wrong. I care about her, but he is my son and to me his happiness comes before everything. I need some outside perspective. Most of this happened years ago, when my son, who is now 30, was in high school. He had a girlfriend, Beth, he was devoted to. They were together for 3 years. She became almost like a daughter to me. She was a sweet girl, but she had some problems, and there were times when she would treat my son badly, accusing him of cheating on her or intending to leave her. As far as I could tell, these accusations had no basis in reality and my son was always blindsided, spending hours or days trying to convince her it wasn't true. Often he would be in tears not knowing what to do. It was awful. Sometimes he asked me for advice and I would try to help him see that the situation was not sustainable, but in the end he always managed to talk her round and they would be okay for some months until the next time. Every time he was convinced it would be the last time, but as far as I could see she only got worse. I knew speaking against her wouldn't work, but I hoped once he went away to college he might gain some perspective, so when they started talking about getting married straight after graduation, I was very concerned. I decided to offer him a deal, that if he would hold off marrying her until after college, I would fund him completely so he would not have to go into debt, which I pointed out would give them a better start together. He accepted, and within 6 months of him leaving she was pregnant by someone else and he was done. I was relieved but sad to see how things went for her. She had 2 kids in 2 years with 2 different men, neither of whom stuck around. I was in touch with her a bit and gave her money a cut of times. For a while she was mostly stable, but after having her 3rd child and getting left again she had a breakdown and was looking at having her kids taken away. It broke my heart, because she really is a sweet soul and such a devoted mother. Seeing as she had no one else, I offered to let her live with me till she got back on her feet. And yes, I did ask my son. He moved across the country for work and is now happily settled, a wonderful partner. He says he considers Beth family as happy for me to help as I see fit. Although things have been difficult all around, what with the virus, the kids are a joy and Beth and I were good friends. She has a new job and is taking evening classes. All was well until my sister visited and had a silly tiff with Beth, culminating in her telling Beth I was the reason my son didn't marry her at the end of high school. She had a complete meltdown, calling me manipulative, treacherous, evil, jealous, saying I stole the love of her life, even implying I had inappropriate feelings for my son. She now hasn't spoken one word to me in a week. I am at my wit's end. Edit. Thank you all for your replies. I am overwhelmed by the amount of support. I am reading and trying to provide missing information as much as possible. You made a good offer, and in doing so, prevented what would have been a toxic situation. You're not the asshole for breaking them up, because you didn't. Her cheating did. You simply made an offer, a good one, too. For them to wait on marriage. Not stop the marriage. You took a gamble and won. However, you are the asshole for inviting her to move in. You knew, from watching her relationship with your son, that she is not stable. You knew, from watching her life become a mess, that she was not stable. You invited toxicity into your home, and wonder why things got toxic. Really? Your sister is a major awe. Beth is a soft awe, because obviously the girl has major problems. Soft, you are the asshole for you. Your heart was in the right place, but your brain wasn't. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Not the asshole. You can point out that you never forbade your son from marrying her, you just asked him to go to college first. They broke up because of her actions, not yours. That said, if she was accusatory and vindictive with your son, it shouldn't surprise you when she ultimately turns accusatory and vindictive towards you. That's a part of her personality. She's not going to see you as the kind-hearted mother figure who gave her money, a place to stay, love and support. She'll wind up seeing you as just another person who betrays her, because that seems to be her pattern with the entire world. Also, what the fuck was your sister thinking? Now that's an asshole. Not the asshole. The goodwill you've shown this woman has been above and beyond. You have nothing to apologize for. Incentivizing your son to make good life choices was the right thing to do. If she had any sense of self-reflection, she'd be horrified at how she treated your son, quite frankly. Be patient, she clearly needs support. But hold firm. Not the asshole. Getting married out of high school is romantic but a really dumb idea. Before they get into what's supposed to be a lifelong commitment, probably with children involved, people need to figure out who they are, and it takes much longer than high school to get that done. Beth having a meltdown after you've been so generous sounds like she still has more work to do. Normally, you would be wrong to butt into your child's relationship, but in this case, not the asshole. You protected your son from what you observed to be an emotionally abusive relationship. And you did it in a way that they still had the lion's share of control over their marriage. Beth got pregnant by someone else when she could have remained loyal to the man she called the love of her life. It is very weird that you still love and support this person you correctly recognized would be a toxic addition to your family. Surely you can't expect her to be alright that you deliberately worked against her to keep her out of your family. Why not just say good riddance? Not the asshole. You provided your son with time, clarity and perspective. That's your job as a parent. The girl seems to have some undiagnosed mental health issues that could have affected your entire family for years to come. You gave your son an out. He took it very gently. Beth has a sort of PTSD around abandonment. Number 1, your sister needs to apologize to Beth. Your sister just punched down on someone who is suffering. Beth is extremely emotionally tormented, and your sister opened a huge wound. Now you have to find a way to close the wound. You might want to seek professional advice on how to best reach out to Beth to make amends and re-establish a sense of stability for her. Not the asshole. But please make amends. You didn't prevent him from marrying her. She prevented him from marrying her by cheating on him. Not the asshole.